All right, this is Emo on Emo's Rock and Roll Magic Show here on 101.5 KOCI. And today we have the great honor of speaking with the legendary co-founder, drummer, and co-lead singer Don Brewer of Grand Funk Railroad. So thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome, Don.
Thanks, Emo. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, of course. All right, to get this thing started, I know you have a show with Grand Funk this Saturday with Burton Cummings of the Guess Who and also Blue Oyster Cult at the LA County Fair. So can you tell us about the current tour you're on and how it's been going?
Well, we're doing about 45 shows this year. We started out back in January, and we've had a great year so far. We did a cruise early on in the year. We've done Dover, Delaware, Waterloo, New York, Las Vegas, as I said, a cruise that went down to Aruba and Curacao.
So fun.
It's been just a terrific year. We just came back from a run that was up in the state of Washington, and now we're headed back out to do this California show. Looking forward to it.
So fun. Well, we're so excited that you added us on your tour. So it sounds like you've been pretty busy.
We've been busy, yeah, and we played this venue, I think, 3 or 4 times before, and it's always a great event, and looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, looking forward to it as well. All right, well, let's go way back in time, even before Grand Funk Railroad. So what was it that made you want to get into drumming in the first place, and how old were you when you started?
I was probably about 13 years old. I was unhappy with playing instruments in the band at school, clarinet, so forth. And I tried guitar for a while, and then I decided I wanted to play drums. Basically because the instructor was looking for guys to go back in the drum section to carry the bass drum in the marching band, and it was all girls in the drum section. Of course, I just went, okay. That sounds like it. I hate the clarinet.
Yeah.
Girls in the drum section. I'm going there.
Well, we're glad you chose drumming. Well, can you tell us about the formation of Grand Funk Railroad?
We were, several bands prior to Grand Funk Railroad. We were the Pack and Terry Knight and the Pack and the Fabulous Pack. And, through the course of those bands, several people emerged. And Mark Farner was one of those guys. He came in and out of that band a couple of times, first as a bass player and then later as a guitar player. And then later as the singer. Also, the singer, Terry Knight, became our manager for Grand Funk Railroad when we switched and we started Grand Funk Railroad. This was in 1969.
Yeah.
And music was making a major shift in 1969. It was becoming much heavier. Before that, music was very poppy. And then when Cream and Hendrix and Blue Cheer and all these bands started coming in, music got pretty interesting, and so we decided to put together a power trio. We got Mel Shocker from Question Mark and Mysterians to play bass with us, and Mark and I and Mel started Grand Funk Railroad in Flint, Michigan in 1969. That was the beginning.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history. Years. Next year is 50 years.
Yeah. And I know since you went from the Pack, which was more of a 60s garage band, and Grand Funk had more of that 70s hard rock sound, so they were pretty different. But since Terry Knight was still your manager, would you say you took any elements from the Pack and moved that into the style of Grand Funk?
Well, we took a lot of elements from the Pack. Actually, after Terry Knight left, he went to New York to become an A&R guy at Capitol Records. And the Pack, it was doing a lot of original material, actually. And when we started Grand Funk, we just revamped a lot of that original material to be a power trio thing instead of being a 5-piece band. We just stripped it down, cranked up the volume, gave it a whole different attitude, and that's really, it was really the same, very similar music. It was just done with a whole different style.
Yeah, cranked up. I like that.
Cranked it up, and that's that's what worked, and that's it's really, we were kind of an R&B band, a rhythm and blues band, and Hendrix and Cream and all of those bands were blues bands that were pumped up on steroids. So we took our R&B stuff and cranked it up the same way they did the blues, and I think that's what was really unique about Grand Funk is that R&B flavor, and we kept that, the whole time. We've always been heavily influenced by R&B, still are.
Yeah, I love that fusion of all the styles too, and you can really feel that soul in your music.
Yeah.
And from what I've heard, Grand Funk Railroad first received the biggest recognition after playing the Atlanta International Pop Festival in 1969. So what was it like playing that festival, and how did the band's career change after that?
Well, that drastically changed. We were struggling, actually, looking around places in Michigan. We were kind of a local band and a regional band as the Pack. People, didn't really take us seriously when we switched over to being Grand Funk, and we were looking for gigs. And we lucked out and had an agent that knew somebody at the first International Pop Festival in Atlanta, and they said, he had a friend. He said, "You get your band down here, and they can go on opening day of the festival." So we rented a van and borrowed a trailer and hauled our butts down to Atlanta and went on. Didn't get paid for it, but we got a standing ovation from the audience, and they had us back the second day, put us on a better time slot. Had us back the third day, even put us on an even better time slot. After we left that weekend, everybody at the Pop Festival was talking about Grand Funk Railroad.
So cool. Well, I wish I could have been there.
Oh, it was hot.
Yeah. Oh, I bet.
100 degrees. They were spraying the audience down with fire hoses.
Oh my gosh.
Hot.
Well, in 1972, I know you changed from being that infamous hard rock trio that you were talking about when you added Craig Frost on keys. So how did that change Grand Funk's music and style?
We were kind of going through a transition, a major transition. We had fired our manager, Terry Knight, who we found out was ripping off all the money, and a couple of crooked attorneys. And we were struggling to keep our name and to move forward. They were threatening to take the name away from us, and we were broke. They had taken, the majority of the money from us, and we were going to end up in a huge, lengthy lawsuit. And so we had to make some changes, and radio had changed from being FM Underground in 1972 to now a hit format radio. They brought in all of the bean counters and the consultants, and they told the DJs what they were going to play, and they weren't going to play 7-minute songs anymore. They had to be 3-minute hit records.
Mm-hmm.
So we needed to make a huge change. We were broke, fighting a lawsuit, and radio had changed on us, and so we made a huge transition. I started doing some singing and writing for the band, and we enlisted Todd Rundgren to produce the band, and went into a studio in Florida down Criteria, and cut an amazing album, the American Band album, and that really kind of set us up for a whole new life of Grand Funk Railroad. It was not the same band, from prior, being that heavy metal kind of a band. We were now a pop rock band, and it worked on radio, and created a whole new career for it.
Yeah, well, you can be sure with my show, I am willing to play those 7-minute, even 12-minute songs. Yeah, I'm trying to go back to the way radio should be. And so,
yeah. That's what it was. FM Underground Radio was that the jocks could go home at night, and sit there and go through their album collection, and then pick out what they wanted to play, and just play anything. It could be Frank Sinatra to Frank Zappa. It didn't matter. Yeah,
that's what KOCI is about. And you spoke about Terry Knight being your producer, and I know, and same with Todd Rundgren, and I know Frank Zappa also produced some of your stuff. Which producers would you say did the best work with your band?
Well, I loved working with Todd Rundgren. I thought that Todd had a magical feel in the studio and a sense of music, that was, just extraordinary. And so I really loved working with Todd. He wasn't, prior to working with him, we had old school recording guys, and engineers and producers that wanted to basically record everything flat. No echo, no nothing. It had to be just, dry. And you're listening to that in the headphones, and you're playing along with it. It's not too appealing. And Todd just kind of threw all that out the window, and he just put any effect on what was going to be on there on the recording anyway. You put it on, so you played along to the way it was going to sound later. And just created this whole new atmosphere of what you heard in the headphones while you were recording. And it just it made you play much better, I thought. As a better musician. You didn't have to imagine what it was going to sound like after it was mixed. You were hearing what it was going to sound like.
And which album did he produce?
American Band and Shining On.
Okay, so those are some of my favorites. So now I know if I ever need something produced, I will hit up Todd Rundgren. That's the one to pick. So it seems kind of rare for the drummer to be the lead singer of a band or the co-lead singer. So I think that's really cool that you take that role. And why do you think that is pretty rare?
I'm not exactly sure. I mean, a lot of times the drummers are, sitting in the back, and they're kind of, behind the scenes, that kind of a thing. And a lot of drummers, I don't know why it is, but a lot of drummers just can't sing.
Yeah. Do you find it difficult to bang away at the drums while singing at the same time? Is that some sort of hard multitasking?
I never had to learn one before the other. I learned how to play the drums and to sing at the same time.
Yeah.
It all came along. I was always one of the singers in the band. My first band was the Jazz Masters, and I started that band in my basement in Fort Creek, Michigan. And I used to stand actually behind the drums with a microphone between my legs, and I would sing along, to the Beatles or Chuck Berry or whatever it was, and I'd be one of the singers. So
yeah,
it always came, kind of natural to me, and learning it that way, I didn't have to learn. If I would have been a drummer for years, and then somebody would have told me to sing, that would have been hard.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that's really cool that you take both roles. And I know that you wrote one of Grand Funk Railroad's biggest hits, We're an American Band, which is such a hard rock staple and just so powerful. So what's the story of how you came up with the lyrics and melody for that one?
Well, again, I go back to that time period when we were fighting, huge lawsuits with our former manager, Terry Knight, and we were, struggling to make a hit record because we had to stay viable and stay on the radio and to keep our name. We were going to have to, come up with a hit. And that song really came out of that. We were traveling around from town to town, flying into places, being sued in every city. And I'm looking down at the towns as we're flying in, and the thought came to my mind, we're coming to your town, we'll help you party it down. And I looked at what we were doing, and that's what we were doing. We were coming into town, and it was like Friday night. It was like, come on down and have a party. We're gonna help you to have the party. So I wrote the song really around that. At the time we had Freddie King, the great blues player, playing opening act for us. Freddie used to have his guy play poker with him every night so he could win back the money that he paid him. So that's where that line came from. Up all night with Freddie King. I got to tell you, poker's his thing. And meeting 4 young Chiquitas in Omaha, in a hotel and partying all night. Sweet, Sweet Connie in Little Rock. I wrote the song around what we were doing, and that's where it came from.
You can feel how authentic and real those lyrics are from the way you sing it. So I love the lyrics. I love that song so much, obviously. We'll be playing that one tonight. Are there any songs from Grand Funk Railroad's career that you feel needed more recognition than they got?
There's a few things. There was a song on the album Shining On called To Get Back In. I thought was a great song, a very R&B-ish song.
Yeah.
I think it's just a great song. Tomorrow Comes Creeping In, which was actually a B-side for American Band. Creepin' is another great song.
Yeah, I love that one.
It really didn't get a lot of looks at it, And I Come Tumbling on the E Pluribus Funk album. You should play that on your radio show.
I will.
Great track. I Come Tumbling on E Pluribus Funk.
We will definitely play those tonight for you. Give them the recognition that they deserve. Well, who is in the current lineup that will be playing on Saturday?
We've got a great band. This band's been together now coming up on 19 years. Myself and Mel Shocker, founding members of Grand Funk, along with an all-star cast. Max Carl from 38 Special. Max is the guy that sang and wrote 38's biggest hit, Second Chance. Also from a band in the 80s known as Jack Mack and the Heart Attack, and he's probably one of the last blue-eyed soul singers on the planet. He just fits Grand Funk to a T. Also got Bruce Kulick, who played lead guitar with Kiss for 12 years when they took their makeup off, and Bruce is a good friend of mine from back in my days in the 80s when I was playing in Bob Seger's Silver Bullet Band, and Bruce was playing with Michael Bolton, and Michael Bolton was the opening act on that Bob Seger Secret Tour, and that's where I first met Bruce. So just a great guitar player. He's played on Meatloaf, he's played on Billy Squier, he's played on tons of people, as well as his 12 years with Kiss. Also got Tim Cashin, who plays keyboards and sings backup with us, and Tim has quite a resume too. He's from Bob Seger's Silver Bullet Band, as well as Robert Palmer, and a great keyboardist and backup singer, and that's the band. It's a terrific band.
Yeah, sounds impressive. Sounds like a pretty good time this weekend.
It is.
Well, I know Grand Funk Railroad was really known for their crazy loud and rockin' live concerts at stadiums and arenas with just giant crowds. So how would you compare the shows from the 1970s to now? Is there still that same energy from the band and crowd?
Well, the energy is always there. It's
Yeah.
inherent in the music with Grand Funk. It's a very uplifting music, and it's done that we perform it that way. That's the only way we know how to do it. The crowds are, I don't know what happened, but they got older.
How did that happen?
But we do get a lot of young people coming to the shows. They're curious about, the Grand Funk Railroad. So it's multi-generational now. When we were playing in the 70s and going into the mid-70s, the crowd was really, 19, 20 years old, that kind of a thing. And now the crowd is anywhere from, 5 years old because grandparents bring their grandkids to see Grand Funk, all the way up to probably in their 80s.
Mm-hmm.
It's all it's all over the place.
Oh, well, it still sounds like the crowd would be a fun time. As long as the energy from the band is there, then just energy's all through the whole atmosphere of the show, right?
Absolutely.
All right, well, that's all the questions we have for you tonight. So thank you again so much for joining us. Is there anything else you want to add of why our listeners need to come to your show on Saturday?
Oh, just coming to the show. Be ready to smile, be ready to sweat, have a good time. That's what it's all about. And Emo, I want to thank you very much for having me on.
Of course. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, we are looking forward to the show on Saturday. And for now, we're going to keep on rocking to some Grand Funk Railroad here on 101.5 KOCI.